think we're live. Let's make sure we've got audio. Yep, looks like audio is there. Yay! I was starting to doubt today was even going to happen. Do you ever have one of those days where it's like every single thing that could slow you down happened? I've been trying to get ready for today for like the last 4 hours. Everything from dogs being difficult to you name it. It's been just nothing bad, just like one of those days where you're just stressing like, am I going to get all this done in time? So anyway, I am here. Barely. I've got caffeine, so we should be good. So today I am working on Canson Mi-Teintes. One of the problems with today, I couldn't find my Canson Mi-Teintes anywhere. Turns out I left it in my office from the last time we used this paper. But that is what I'm working on here. You can work on any paper you want. The reference photo for this is over at patreon.com/Lachri. You don't have to be a member to get that. You can just download it there. The reference photo came from Pixabay, and then I did a terrible Photoshop job to remove the background to give us just a black, to kind of give us a guideline on where we're going with this, since I am using black paper. Now, that's not to say that I don't think it would look better with the background that was on the original photo, which again, that is over there on Patreon as well. But just for time's sake, we're trying to get this done in about 2 hours, give or take. So it just takes a lot longer. Let's see. And if somebody could share this live stream over in our Facebook group, that would really help. Facebook wasn't cooperating. My internet wasn't it has just been one of those days. I sent out another email newsletter, but forgot to change the body, so it talks about something from 2 years ago. Again, everything today. Just a bunch of really stupid little things that I'm like, wow, that was impressive that I managed to screw that up too. And I don't have my paper towel. Gibson's moaning over here. Let me grab my stuff. Man, I don't even have my OMS. Oh, that OMS is dry. Okay. And I've got to fill my OMS while I'm at it. So I guess I'm really not anywhere near as ready as I thought I was. 1 second here. My big old 1 gallon size Mona Lisa odorless paint thinner. Just throw a little of that in our container. Okay. If you ever get the 1 gallon size, it'll last you for years. I've had that one, and I use it for oil paint too, so not even just colored pencil. I've had that one for, I think I bought it in 2016. Yeah, it lasts forever. So I've got it in my little handy cup. I've got my paper towels. I think I am ready. Do I have a pencil sharpener over here? I'm probably, yep, there we go. Okay, maybe I'm finally ready. Let's see if I can calm down and actually work now. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, Joshua says, your day sounds like my last 2 weeks. Isn't it? It usually goes like that too, or it just keeps compounding. Okay, and I may have to stop. We'll see. Wade is in his crate because he refuses to pee. We had an issue a couple weeks ago. You guys care. This is not TMI at all. But he was in and out all day, but apparently wasn't going. I wasn't watching him. I'm like, he must have gone when I wasn't looking. Yeah, no, he held it all day and then went in his bed. So to avoid that, our new rule is if you don't pee, you have to wait in your crate until and I just take him out every 30 minutes or so trying to get him to go. Doesn't work, or it didn't work today. So he's not in this room today. He's in the crate. He's over next to the girls. Yeah, gosh, all day. So if he starts whining or crying, I will pause so I can take him out because I don't want him to have to hold it. So we'll be listening for that today. Ooh, this is going to be a good one for this. Just found a pencil that I'm like, wow, that one will be good, which is this, the Burnt Sienna 10%. That is with Caran d'Ache. Now, the pencils I'm going to be using today, I've got a combination of my Derwent Lightfast, my Polychromos, and my Caran d'Ache Luminance. And which ones I'll use will in part depend on if I want a more opaque color, then I'm going to go for my Luminance. If I'm looking for a really sharp detail, I'm probably going to reach for my Polychromos. And then I've got my Derwent Lightfast because they've got some interesting colors that I don't know if I'll need them for this. We'll see. But usually on dark paper like this, I find the more opaque pencils. So like the Caran d'Ache Luminance, and as dirty as I feel saying it, Prismacolor would also be suitable on black paper. But something that has a higher wax content and tends to be more opaque is going to work better on the darker colored papers. It'll show up better. Let's see. Thank you, Nick. Yeah, oh, MeWe too, thank you. Yeah, I tried posting and my internet was like, no, we're not posting photos. We're not posting anything. And so I had to post from my phone, but I didn't get to, all day. It's been all day. Let's let's see. Gail said, I don't mind and I care. I'm in the midst of training a puppy too. Oh, you understand. Let's see. Migus said, published on Facebook now. Yay, thank you. Jody said, can you share real quick how you transferred your drawing onto the black paper? So for me, I have over here my little SD card, and it goes into my, or not SD card, little USB memory, and I use it in my brain shut down. Wow, this is starting off well. My projector, I used a projector for this. Another way that I would do on black paper, if you don't have a projector, is to use tracing and transfer paper. That would be a good method to get it on cleanly. And I would do that even, I mean, I'd probably use darker transfer paper on black paper because the white might be too much. But I would do that over freehanding on black paper, because if you try to erase on this, it smudges and it does make it pretty nasty. So I would always have it pre-drawn out somewhere else and then transfer it, whether it be with a projector or with tracing transfer paper. But I would probably go with a black transfer paper or a dark gray so that the contrast isn't as high as I think white would be too much. Now the way that I drew this with that projector, I used my Prismacolor, no I didn't, I don't even know where those are, my Polychromos colored pencil to get my line drawing, and I drew it in with obviously colored pencils. It's not redundant at all. But that's how I got that on there. Phyllis said, great day. Today I got a Dick Blick order so I can finish my tulip with white. Nice. My first Frederick's watercolor board and even Frederick's coasters. Frederick's coasters, wow. Plus a live show. Who's better than me? Okay, let's see. Let's start with, I guess, the bee. Now this is going to be, I'm not going for super detailed, super realistic, because we've got 2 hours. But I still want it to look fairly realistic, and so what we're really going to focus on are our values. Are our darks dark enough? Are our lights light enough? That matters more than just about anything else. Our drawing is accurate because I used a projector. So it's definitely accurate. That is good. And we're going to go ahead and start with the bee. Now I would recommend, you're going to see me resting my hand on here because I forgot to put a glassine, and I'm not even going to worry about that right now. I'm not going to worry about selling this, so I'm not worried about keeping it super archival. If you are selling yours, though, where you'll see me resting my hand on here, it is a very good idea, and especially on a paper like this where the oils from your skin would start to show if you do have oilier hands. Glassine or something under your hand to protect the paper is a good idea. So this is one of those do as I say, not as I do, because I'm not using that today. Okay, let's start with the wings. Actually, maybe not. Maybe I'll start, I'm trying to think what I want to start with. I think I'm going to start with the fluffy body. So I'll probably start with, if I've got colors that I think are suitable with the luminance, because they are more, actually I may even start with, because that's kind of muted. My Polychromos might be the better choice for those. And then the Derwent Lightfast, they've got a lot of really neutral tones that might be better. Let's find out. I think they had a lot of tan and gray colors, which some of these would work, but I think I'm going to go with Polychromos to get that fine line for the bee's fluff. Which pencil do I want to go with? So this one is, that should work. We'll try it. This is the Brown Ochre 50%. I'm going to sharpen this to a fine point. Actually, didn't I just say I wanted Polychromos? I really need to calm my brain down. It is just all over the place. That makes live streaming semi-difficult. And then I've got, with the Polychromos, we'll try the Burnt Ochre. So let's see which of these looks best for getting some fluff. Now, for the eyes, if I want those a lot darker, I can come through with the black colored pencil. I'll probably use Polychromos for that. But for a lot of this, he's got black showing through in different areas. Let the black of the paper work for you. Don't feel like every single bit of that black paper has to be covered. Let it show where you need something dark. Kelly said, what projector do you use? I have the Artograph, I want to say it's an 800. I have a video, if you look up Lachri and projector, I have a video about it and it's amazing, but I don't think they make it anymore. I suspect it's because the remote control had issues, like it was a huge issue with their remote. They had to replace it for me, but I have to wonder if that was anything to do with it, because I don't think they make it, but it's a projector. The maker was actually LG. I later found out, like, it's LG made it for Artograph and then labeled it with Artograph, but I have a feeling most projectors, as long as you can get the projector to give you a still image, so that's something to check for. But if it'll show you a still image, most projectors should work, and it'd probably be a lot less expensive than I overpaid for that so badly. I mean, I love it, and I'll be using it probably for the rest of my life, but it was more that just because it was for art. Sometimes you get products, and you don't hear me to say this often. Usually I'll say stick with art products when it comes to your pencils, to paint thinner, to, you know, those sorts of things. When it comes to like a projector, like you don't have to use the one for art as long as it'll have the static image. You can probably save a lot of money if it's not listed for art. Art storage boxes are oftentimes that would be the case. I found going to like Home Depot or somewhere and getting fishing tackle boxes or those Rubbermaid type tool boxes work better for storage than many of the art storage ones that you would get at like Michael's, for just a fraction of the cost, and it's almost the same thing, and sometimes it's better, like way better. So that would be one of the cases where I would say a projector or storage boxes, it's sometimes much better to find ones that are not labeled for art. You can save some money, but just make sure that it'll give you that static image. My friend, just to give you an idea, my friend got one. She got the LG version that's not marketed for artists. It did not have a thing to keep the image static. She had to like do something with the programming. I don't even know what she did, but she made it work. But she saved $300. Same projector, same hardware. The software was all that was different, and she was able to fix that. $300. That's a huge savings to get the one exact same thing. One was listed with art, had art software to keep the static image. One did. So yeah. Look into those. Hello, Shaggy said, hello from New Zealand, liking the extra Saturday morning streams. Thank you. Erica said, I noticed OMS dulls my black and dark. I already have issues keeping my darks dark. Even with mixing the blacks and blues, purples, I use pastel matte and polychromos and cheaper OMS from Walmart. Well, I don't know what cheaper would be than Mona Lisa. That's one of the cheaper ones. So that could have something to do with it. And it could just be you don't have enough pigment on the paper. Usually when it comes out dull, that's why. You need more pigment, more light layers. Don't push hard because that's not going to likely give you what you're looking for. But more light layers will often be the reason or what you need to avoid having that dull look. If it's dull, it's usually, when you see me do it, it will look dull when I first blend out with the OMS. That's because I'm in the beginning layers. I need to keep building more and more pigment. Once I get to the end, that is definitely not the case. So to me, I would say that's probably the issue there, is more pigment, more layers. Miriam said, hi, printer down, but they sketched from picture using Gamsol, Faber-Castell 12 count polychromos. I don't know how this will look. That'll work. You should be fine. The only thing that I think will be a little bit off on yours, Miriam, is the opacity. So like right there, I was using the burnt ochre with polychromos. Look what I use, which is essentially, it actually is a little bit lighter, but it's pretty close. But the brown ochre 50% with the luminance, it shows up much better because I'm now switching to a wax-based pencil. So that may be the difference. Yours may have a little bit of a softer look, like he's kind of at nighttime. Nighttime bee. That's not a thing, right? And here I'm going to put dots. So where you want it to look like his fur is facing you, don't try to just do shorter fur. Sometimes dots are the way to go. So when the fur, and this is on any animal, when the fur is aiming at the viewer, dots, that you're just seeing the tips of the fur. And so that's how I'm going to build here, and I'll do multiple layers, and I'll use a couple of colors probably. Thank you, Carrie. And just a reminder, if you have a question or a comment, make sure to do the @Lachri Fine Art. If it doesn't highlight in orange, I won't see it. Not because I'm trying to ignore you, but that is pretty much the end result. And it looks like the YouTube studio still isn't working, so I'll have to refresh every so often to make sure I'm getting comments showing up. There, oh gosh, that was way behind. There we go. That new YouTube studio is working so well for a bit there, and I don't know what they did, but it like doesn't keep updated. Refresh, so I'm like, I don't know if my connection's still going. I don't know what's going on there. And see how I'm letting the black show? The black is giving me shadows. I don't even have to come back through and put in a ton of shadows places. Keeps things nice and easy. Now he does have, let's see. I'm gonna use purple for the black on his rear here. Happy birthday, Lizzie? Izzy? So But this is going to be a little bit lighter. I'll put purple where the black is going to go just to kind of keep track of what is what. I think that's black. Can't tell sometimes with the lines I've drawn in. And I can come through and add more color, get some variation in a bit. Right now I'm just getting a general idea of where things are gonna go. He moves to a darker brown, which I think will work well. I think I'll use my Caput Mortem color or however I want to mispronounce that one. If I can find one that's sharp, or not, might not. Maybe I'll use, do we have? Oh, actually, no, that's not what I want. I might have to grab another pencil. I don't think I have a sharp one over here. I can just use this teeny tiny nub. I don't even have my pencil extenders over here. I am so not prepared today. What the heck? Drag my pencil card over. I don't even have pencil extenders over here. My gosh, I am just an absolute mess today. Okay, so we'll just hold it kind of funny. So we've got a shadow under his belly here. Now the colors I'm using, these aren't exact to the reference photo. They don't need to be. What I need is for my values to be correct. My light's light enough, dark's dark enough. Get that in there. That's what's going to make a difference in your work. Not like, I think Miriam, you said you had the set of 12. Totally fine. Get your values in there. Heck, you can make him a blue bee and he'll still be cute. Which, as it turns out, is a thing. Did you know there are teal bees? I found that out recently. Like, they were made for me. I was recently looking at all the different types of bees there were. Let's see. Vitalani said, I started the outline for this earlier. I got a little carried away and did the coloring too. Now I'm just going to sit back and relax and see how I could have done better. I don't know. Maybe yours is better. Mine always ends up in the live streams. They're a little rushed just to try to get them finished in the 2 hours. So you guys can actually take a bit more time and make yours even better than mine. So it kind of goes out of focus here. So I'm not going to put a ton of detail with the little hairs. And he's got a couple of shinier spots there. Let's use this. This one is the Caran d'Ache Brown Ochre 10%. Sharpen that up. Joseph said the Bazinga bee is metallic green. Yes, it's real. Yeah, that's probably the one that I saw because he was metallic looking. He was really neat. I don't know anything about him, but he looked cool. Let's get a little highlight. Put another little highlight in here. I'm going to give him a little bit of highlighting along kind of backlit. That color shows up really well on the black. So black paper isn't one that you typically see me use too often on my own work where I'm trying to produce something that I'm going to make prints of or whatever else, because it does affect your color. My color is not going to be true because all of the pencils, even the more opaque ones, are semi-translucent. And so you're fighting the black there. So they're not really going to be true colors. I typically prefer to work on white paper, so my colors are going to be more true, and then I can fill in the background as I want to. Of course, here today, that would take absolutely forever and not be a lot of fun. So I'm not doing that, but that's why you won't typically see that. And here, these colors, they look like they're fairly high contrast. And I wonder if I can zoom in a little for you guys, because this is really on. Let's readjust this a bit. I don't need you to see that much of the black of the paper. I should have done all of this earlier. Well, I didn't have time earlier, but let's see. I think we can see him a bit better. Make sure the focus is as good as it's going to get. I really need them to invent higher quality webcams. Let's see. Nope, that got fuzzier. Right about there looks pretty accurate. Okay, there. Now you guys can see him better. Much better. Okay. Let's see, a teal bee Well, it might need to be in a future painting of yours. Yeah, I want to look more into those guys. I'm gonna use this same lighter ochre just to get the outline of the wing there. He's kind of got a light area that comes down that is not drawn out on mine. Okay. Oh, let's sharpen that one too. So we've got this really bright area on this part of the wing. So just using white. I'm going to pull some of those shiny bits in here too now. I'll draw a few lines. Let's see. How do I want to do this? Let's get well, any of the brownish tones, reddish brown tones should work okay for these lines. Bev said, much better, thank you. Yeah, that was really zoomed out, wasn't it? Much better. Okay, so we've got some shapes in here. I don't care if they're exact. I want to get kind of close. This is where the brown is on the wing. And it's more brown in the photo, but that's okay. The brown, I think if I went with it. Lindsay said, hello Lisa, what is your favorite pencil sharpener? Right now, and it's like, yeah, no, I'm really just liking these little cheapy metal comb sharpeners. There's some of that for his little fuzz. Now, one of the things that you might think when you see a bee is it's yellow and black, but is it really? It's more tan. The colors you're actually going to use. I mean, if you're doing something more cartoony, then yeah, yellow is going to be more fitting. But with this, yellow, like actual yellow, would be a bit too fluorescent. We are going with tan tones. Jeannie said, what color, I can't read. Said, what color or material keeps up the other 90% of a 10% of a pigment? White would be 100% just the pigment color. I have no idea. I don't know what the science is behind that. Laura said, do you find that paper or pencil, or I'll come back to it. 50%, the higher the percentage, the deeper the color seems to be. When it's like this one is a 10%, and so it's really pale. But I don't know how they're mixing that in. I should research that. Let's see. Larry said, do you find that the paper or pencils are affected when it's humid? Not sure if you get much humidity there. Today is gross here, and I feel the paper works differently. I could see where the paper would pick up. We do get, I'm in Texas, so we do get very humid. But I haven't found that it made a big difference in the end result. So I could definitely see where the paper might feel different, but I've never had it actually affect where I felt my results were different. But that might depend on how humid it is. I'm always in the air conditioning, so even though it's humid, that does tone it down a bit. So I'm not sure on that one. Ellie said, what pencil do you use to draft out a colored pencil drawing on the paper? On this one, I used polychromos, just a lavender or pink kind of color, and then the ochre type color for the bee and its center of the flower. So I usually will try to use a colored pencil that's similar to what what colors I'm using, so that I'm not fighting that when I get into actually drawing or filling in the colors. Okay, let's go with, light gray, and this one might work. This might be too light though. This one is violet gray. It's actually one of my favorite colors with the Caran d'Ache Luminance. I'm not sure if this is going to be better, or might be better with a polychromos. It'll be more translucent, or even a light fast pencil, because they've got such a big selection of gray tones. Let me see. So this is one of the things, it's a good example. One of the things that we do, This one looks even better. This is Mars Violet. I don't know what I'm gonna use. One of the things you'll see me do all the time where I'm like, oh, I don't know, should I try this? I don't know, let's try that. With art, you're always experimenting. Don't feel like you always have to know the answer. I usually don't. I try something. If I like it, great. If I don't like it, I put that pencil down and try a different one. Don't feel like, I think people get in their head that artists are supposed to always know exactly what to do step by step, and we don't. We're always experimenting. And so you kind of want to have that in your head. Oh, this is perfect. So this is the Light Fast Mars Violet. And any sort of gray or violet gray, anything like that, it really, like I said before, it is your values that you're paying more attention to, not the color. And not all of this needs OMS either. I'm going to on some of this because this is looking fuzzy, but like the bee, I'm not blending the bee with OMS. He looks great how he is. So when you remember with OMS, you don't, and it's the same thing with painting. Like if we're doing acrylic painting, you don't have to blend everything. Sometimes it looks perfect, exactly just with the brush stroke, or in this case with the pencil stroke. Blending brush. Some of these are a little too large. I may have to do a bit of experimenting. Ooh, here's a nice small one. That one will probably work better. So this one is a Simply Simmons. It is a little, it's called a shader. Let's see if I can get the label off of it, because that's going to drive me insane. I might have to deal with it until I get my, yeah, I'm going to have to deal with it. So we've got the tag on it, but I'm going to use this just a little bit, and I want to dab, when I dip my brush in the OMS, I dab it on a piece of paper towel. The paper towel that I'm using is Viva. Viva is the only paper towel that works well with OMS. If you don't have that, then an old t-shirt, old rag, something like that is going to be your best bet. I'm just going to smudge that in. It's going to get darker while I blend because the paper really ends up showing through. When it dries, though, it'll become more opaque again. So I'm just lightly going through this. That label is really bugging me on here. And we're going to let that dry. And put the lid back on the odorless mineral spirits. So the OMS, it's non-toxic. What I'm using is non-release odorless mineral spirit. Not non-toxic. That's not the right word. It's odorless. That's the word I'm looking for. This is not my day. Even though you don't smell it, that doesn't mean that it's not harmful for you. So you want to keep the lid on it all the time. If I'm not actively using it, I put the lid back on my little container. This is a lock and lock container. I used to get these on Amazon. I can't find them anymore. But anything that has like a rubber seal. Now, even though that has the rubber seal, I don't want to store it sideways. That's why mine was empty. It was slowly leaking out of the container over the last couple weeks. So make sure that stays upright, even though you've got that seal. OMS wants to leak out of everything. But put the lid on it. It's not, people freak out. It's so toxic. It's so horrible. I have fibromyalgia. I'm pretty sensitive in fibromyalgia in this. I feel like it's kind of you're hypersensitive to a lot of things. And maybe that's not to do with the fibromyalgia. That's how my brain understands it. But I get headaches really easy. I've never had a problem with this. But when I'm not using it, just put the lid on it. It's fine. I want to keep the lid on it though, and also to make sure my pets don't come by and drink it or knock it off and spill OMS on something that might ruin it. But just use common sense with it. It's not like people act like it's the scariest thing in the world. It's not as scary as, I mean, do your research, decide on your own, but I don't have a problem with it. Heck, my friend Lena Dania, she had a video, not recently, but a couple of years ago, she drank it on accident. She picked it up instead of her water cup, and she's fine. So, is room going? It shouldn't be going right now. So I think people always, whenever I use it, they act like it's this horribly, horribly toxic substance. It's not that bad. I mean, don't drink it, but even when you do, you'll probably be fine. Anyway, thought I'd throw that out there. Let's see. Where were we? Oh, we are. I missed a bunch of questions. Let's get caught up in this while we wait for that to dry. Thanks, Sabine. Let's see. Laura said, "Oh well, okay. I guess it's just more my my head. It's just It's not hot enough for the AC here yet, but super humid. Ooh, maybe you want to run the AC just to lower the humidity there. I don't think we've ever had that though, where it's humid and not hot enough for the AC in Texas. But we run the AC half the time in the winter too, so it's hot here a lot. Jamie said, I use polychromos warm gray, but I'm starting on white paper for wings. That would work. Nick said, I see Gibson observed Wade's sleeping spot. Wade, because Wade's not in here today. Wade's being difficult. Amy said, you should promote Patreon more. It's wonderful with so much more value than other artists from my experience. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, sign up for Patreon. I would recommend, though, sign up after the 1st because you get charged, unless you wanted this month's postcard, then go ahead and sign up now. But sign up on the 1st because it charges you on the 1st, between the 1st and the 5th of each month. So when you first sign up, you get charged then. So if you sign up on like the last day of the month, you get charged again the next day. And unless you were trying to get that month's postcard, that's kind of wait a day. So, I mean, I appreciate the extra $4 or whatever, but little tip there. But yeah, I've got my Patreon where every single week I've got a new lesson for you. And speaking of, I'm really excited. So I did a colored pencil piece of a mandarin goby, which isn't actually a goby, but it's a dragnet. But anyway, I did a piece for polychrome or Faber-Castell back, and I don't think, if you guys have seen it, let me know. I don't think I ever posted it. I looked, I can't find any record of me having posted it on Patreon. So that may be this week while I work on the millions of honeycomb marks on my zebra. But I was really excited because I've got like a whole colored pencil video for you guys. Well, I still have to edit it, but yeah, that will be coming either this week or next week. So either way, super excited about it. But with Patreon, every week you get a new video that is usually mostly real time, but it's anywhere from 1 to 2 hours long, sometimes 3. In the case of the zebra, that's getting broken down into 3 real-time videos. So great lesson. That these lessons, if I were to sell them individually, would be anywhere from $30 to $50 depending on the price or the length, possibly longer or more. And you're getting all of them, I have like 200 of them on Patreon right now. So you get access to instantly when you sign up, $4 a month. Like, you can't beat the price. So thank you for the reminder. I need to be reminded more to tell people about it. I don't post that often on Instagram or Facebook about it, because if you use the term Patreon anywhere, they don't share that post with almost anyone. So it's kind of like, well, it's pointless for me to do it, but I really should mention it more in these videos. Thank you. Sarah said, would you recommend ventilation when using OMS too? I mean, I wouldn't sit in a closet using it, but I don't have any, well, my air conditioner is on, so I guess I do have ventilation, and this is a big room, but I used to work in a smaller bedroom, and I never had problems. It never caused me issues. But you have to keep in mind too, I'm also an oil painter, so I may have a different, I'm not as concerned with certain fumes as some people might be. Now, that said, I would never bring chicken in here when I'm using it, my cockatiel. I wouldn't risk a bird because they have very, very sensitive respiratory systems. So that I wouldn't do. But for me, I'm comfortable with it. You just do your research and make the decision for yourself. But don't go into it thinking that it's like this murder juice, because it's not. Ventilation is always always a good idea when using anything with fumes, but it's not like I sit here with a ventilator or fan or anything like that in here. I have a fan, but it's not on. Let's see. Tina said, in which city do you live in? I generally don't like to announce that publicly because I have some weird people that are a bit stalkerish that terrify me. So, I mean, I'll say I'm in North Texas. Not that people probably couldn't figure it out, but we'll just leave it there. Not that you would be one of them, but I just don't want to, announce my address. Luke said, hopefully you still remember to do a yellow tang painting tutorial. I'm a huge fan and been struggling to paint yellow tangs. And actually, where's my little paper? I still haven't found my notebook, but maybe we'll do that as next week's paint along in acrylics. It was in acrylics you wanted, right? So that's a good idea. Let's see. Thank you for the reminder, because I forgot. Let's see. Casey said, I've got some money saved up, and when I get the chance, I'm going to join Patreon and go on an art supply binge. Nice. Hollow Angel said, I am very sorry. I cannot support you on Patreon for now. The corona situation left me jobless. I'm sorry. Trust me, I've seen what everyone's going through. I get it. But I highly appreciate my time on there. The watercolor pencil tutorials are awesome. Because you were already a member, if you had to cancel due to job loss with coronavirus and everything going on, send me a message if there's a video in that you've got your time off. Send me a message and I will send you the link to a video if there was one you wanted to watch. I mean, there's no way for me to send you every single one, but if you're off and there's something because you were already a member, so if you do have one that you would like to, let me know. I'll get an alternative link for you so you have something to keep you busy during this. So sorry. I'm sorry for everyone. God, everything's just frustrating for everyone right now. I'm sorry you're having to go through that. Miriam said, I think I'm having a day like yours. That I thought I had my supplies. I guess brown pencil went on an adventure. Joshua said, murder juice. That's my new name for OMS. I need to find my label machine and relabel it. That's not a bad idea though. So I had a student. I guess I could draw while I chat. I had a student, she was awesome, and it drove me crazy. She would bring her OMS in a water bottle. OMS looks like water and it has no real smell. So how easy? She's like, well, I know what's in it. Yeah, but you've got kids at home who might pick that up and drink it. And it's not that it's that, you don't want to drink it, but as long as it doesn't end up in your lungs, that's where the fume's getting into your lungs. Like if you were to inhale it, that could cause some serious issues. But at the same time, let's not risk it. Can we not? Oh man, that made me nervous when she would do that. Like, please don't. Yeah, it's not that dangerous, but dangerous enough. Let's not put it in a water bottle. Okay, and now I'm just using my white and I'm going to start getting some shine on these wings, some little dots, little lines. And again, I don't need this exact. That doesn't concern me, but I do want to get the idea, the hint of where these little shine marks would be. If it's not exact, no one but you guys are going to know the difference. I'm going to do some little dots, just like what I do when I paint fish. So one of my things that I do, like little trick, I guess, when I paint marine life or any fish, anything underwater, dots on the tip of the fins, on anything where you want it to look like water is shimmering on it. And that's what I'm going to do on this bee. We're going to get some shimmery, even though that's not in my reference photo. We'll make them look more shimmery by some dots. Get clusters of dots too. Srithi said, do you exhibit your art? Exclusively your work. If so, how often do you exhibit? I haven't in years. I used to do like group art shows and such, and I just got busy. Basically, once YouTube took over, everything else got pushed back. So, I used to be in a band. I used to do all kinds of stuff. I just don't have time anymore. So now it's all about making art videos. But I would like to do art galleries and art shows. It's a time, it's a struggle with time. There are lots of things I would like to do that I just can't fit in. Now, that's kind of what I started with with art. I would do any art show I could get into, which got very expensive when you're a starving artist because they charge, there's fees to do the shows. But they were fun. Mostly. Some of them would be a little bit frustrating, some of the shows that I did where it was like a competition. That I like the shows that aren't a competition. The competition ones would be frustrating because the ones I was going to, now these weren't like CPSA. Their competitions are, it makes sense why they choose who they choose, like which art, like I always feel like it's deserving and a good choice, like with who their judges choose. With those, I've not entered those, but like you always see who their choices are, and it's like, I get that. That was an awesome piece. The ones I was going to, they were pretty much clubs that retired people had put together, and they were just sitting around voting for their friends. Like there was no rhyme or reason other than this is my friend and this is who I'm voting for because I'm the judge today. It was very weird. Like if you were not in their clique, it didn't matter. And I'm not saying that my work should have won. I don't think mine should have. Mine was not good enough yet. But there were other artists that were phenomenal that you're looking at and you're going, how did this get over this? That doesn't make any sense. So it could be discouraging on some of those art competitions if you're going in with the goal to win. especially in a case like what I experienced. And I'm not saying that they're all like that. They probably all aren't. But the ones, this would have been back in the late 90s that I was going to these, and late 90s, early 2000s. And yeah, they were clubs put on by retired folks who just were like, it was a way to pat each other on the back pretty much, which was fun for them, and that's fine. But don't take the entry fees of people who would never have a chance, because there's no way you're voting for someone who isn't your friend. There was, God, I remember this one. There was a piece, what am I looking for? Is there black in here? There was a piece that got the, well, who was it? It was like the mayor's award. So the mayor came in. And it was the most, like, everyone who would walk by kind of joked. Like, it was a chicken, but it was a really messed up looking, like, it was not good. And the fact that that one went, I guess we'll just use this because I can't find the one I'm looking for. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. And sometimes, like, you hit the points where if you really wanted to win, and when I was young, I did. And I didn't understand how these were going at the time. And it was like, and looking back, there's no way mine would have, even if it was a judge who knew what they, at the time, who was like, actually going by the art, the merit of the art, not the who's friend. But when you see some of these that you're like, did they paint that with their feet? What the heck? But yeah, there was, I'll always remember the one. It was a chicken that was just so badly done. And everyone, like, and it wasn't just me, people would walk by commenting going, really? I mean, you have the whole art is in the eye of the beholder, but it was definitely like when you go into those situations wanting to win, it takes the fun out of it. And so I had to realize when I enter a competition, that doesn't really matter. You know, I go in hoping something sells now. That's more of a concern. And actually, one of the last shows I did before I moved to Texas, it was the art guild I was in, and my work, I didn't win any awards. I wouldn't, and that wasn't going to happen with this group of judges. But my work, one of my paintings that was there, sold for far more than anyone else's there. And it's like, yeah, I think I'd rather take the thousands of dollars versus the 20-cent ribbon. That is, I'll go with that. But the point is, if you do shows like that, this was, I mean, not what you were asking, but remember, do it for fun, not with the expectation to win, because that would always make it not fun. And I learned that lesson very quickly and then was able to have fun at them. But always remember that. Luke said, you just made my whole entire day saying you would do a yellow tang tutorial. I love yellow tangs, so I'm right there with you. And DJ said, I was going to do this colored pencil piece with you, but my car got in the way. LOL repairs came in like, oh no. We can watch later. You can follow along later. Erica said, have you ever heard of Roblox colored pencil trays for storage? I saw it recommended in an order a setup. Would love to know what you think about them. I have not. I am curious about them though. Hold on. I'm writing that down. I'm gonna look it up. I love storage things. So even, let's see, for colored pencils especially. Colored pencils are one of those storage things that finding like tackle boxes, that thing I was talking about earlier doesn't fit so well. You said robot? R-O, where was it? Robax. I need to find my pad of paper because this little scratch piece is probably going to work for so long. Let's see. Erica said, have you ever heard of, okay, got that one. Nick said, anything other portable liquids in a water bottle is a bad idea. Oh, absolutely. Shiseido put microcellular water in a bottle, and being ignorant and puzzled, I poured it out. What a waste. Let's see. Sabine said, what kind of brush do you use for small tiny whiskers with brush and pencil titanium white? I have very tiny brush, but still getting tree funks on my cat drawing. So what I do, I use a #1 synthetic hog hair liner brush from Hobby Lobby. And if you go to my website, lachri.com, go to acrylic supplies. I know you're talking about for colored pencils, but I haven't updated my colored pencil list yet. Maybe this weekend. God, I'm far behind on everything. I feel like I never stop working and I'm not getting ahead. But anyway, go to the acrylic supply list on my site, and down, if you're in the US and you can order from Hobby Lobby, their #1 synthetic hog hair liner. That is wonderful. And you have to practice with it because how thin or thick your line is largely has to do with how much pressure you're adding to the brush and how you load the brush. So it's going to take some practice, and I recommend practicing. Just get yourself like a cheap, like apple barrel, whatever, the bottles of a liquid or of acrylic paint, not the ones that I use, the cheapy craft paint, because it's already thinned down with water. Use that to practice just making lines with that liner brush. Then, that's the best way to go, because I don't recommend wasting, like when you're learning to make thin lines, if you're not comfortable with that, don't waste your brush and pencil product. Practice first with the paint and then get comfortable with making thin lines there, and then jump into the brush and pencil. But those little like 99-cent bottles of paint, are they still 99 cents, or am I aging myself? Let's see. Veek said those I can't even say that, wings. How do you do it? Translucency has always been a problem for me. So this is just happening because I've got darks and lights. That's all I'm looking at. I don't even have super great detail, but when you have that high contrast between your lights and darks, that's where it starts to look like that. You get that shimmer, and that's going to be the same thing. So peacocks, that's a thing. When you draw whatever peacocks, trying to get that shimmery look of their feathers, because they have that real metallic look. It's just from high contrast. Dark's dark, light's light, and it'll look shimmery. Molly said, have you done polychromos over watercolor pencil drawing? I have not. Curious if you have any tips. Even used OMS to blend the polychromos on top. I haven't. I need to, because that's a wonderful mixed media. Like colored pencil on top of watercolor, beautiful. So I need to do that. Let's add that to my little list. I really need to find my bigger pad of paper. I'm running out of room on that. I don't have any tips for you other than make sure it's a dry all the way before you go on top with colored pencil, and make sure your watercolor, you're not planning to go over anymore with watercolor. You wouldn't want to put watercolor at all back on top of the colored pencil, because it's not going to stick to it. So make sure you're done with that. Of course, it would just slide in where the colored pencil wasn't, so you can get a cool effect that way, but it's not really going to stick to the pencil itself. So just keep that in mind, which order you put it down in. Any cheap marketing ideas? I'm not sure what you mean for cheap marketing. I mean, social media, you're able to, I need to pay attention and get some work done. Social media, you're able to market fairly quickly or fairly easily for cheap. So just consistency. I think that's the biggest thing, is being consistent. So I have never, ever ran an ad on Facebook. I've never ran an ad on anything. I do more collaboration. So like I work with Fredericks. Frederick sponsors me, so they provide me with canvases, but they also they share my work. That's a good way for marketing. You know, when you work with other companies, that's a way that you can market that's not really costing either one. Well, it costs them money because they send me canvases, but it's not costing me anything to do that, other than to use the canvas I already was going to use. I just broke the tip off that. But being consistent on social media, that is really going to be, I would say, the most budget-friendly way to market. I don't run ads. I don't anything. Another thing that I do find to be good is make sure you have your own website. And I've talked about this a lot in the past, but have your own website that you have control over. We all know people get banned on Facebook all the time for random things. People get in trouble for whatever. You don't want your business built solely on that. Have your website where people know where they can find you no matter what goes on in the world with social media, and that you have full control over. And if the other thing that's really cool about having your own website, if you can have a blog of sorts where you've got, it's very searchable. So if I write a blog, like when I do a video, I will make a blog post over it along with it and post that video to my website. And those words are searchable. Those come up in Google without me paying for Google. Like if somebody searches, how do I get white fine details in colored pencil? If they do that Google search, there's a good chance either my video or part of a page off my website may come up with that. I don't know, I haven't searched that one, but I mean, stuff like that. You want to think about how people are going to be able to find you, and they can do that. You can do that in a way. I mean, it's essentially marketing without, well, you have to combine that with your social media and such, but you're able to be found without having to spend a bunch of money on stuff. And then there are a lot of marketing blogs that give you ideas. Don't feel like you can only listen to people who are marketing for artists. Usually those I find to be the least helpful. I've found some of the worst advice for ones that were given to artists. Find just a good general blog that is marketing and giving you tips. And then you need to be creative and think, okay, how can I apply this to my business? I think that's really useful. He's got his little black shiny bit here. Whoops, that just scrolled too far. 1 second. Oh my gosh, I really scrolled too far. Here we go. When do you decide to use the OMS? Susan asks. When something, I want it to blend and look smoother. That's when I decide to use it. I've got to have enough pigment on the paper, of course. But whenever I get to the point where I'm like, okay, I want to smooth this out, that's where I'll use it. Now on the B, I want him to look a little fuzzy. I'm not using any OMS on him. Just his wings where I wanted it to be smooth. Let's see. Where do I buy your cases for your pencils? I got mine from Jerry's Artorama, I believe. They had the best reviews on theirs, and it's the 3-drawer pastel box is what I use. And I have one for each different set of colored pencils. I organize them by brand and then color within each brand. And so each one has their own. I need to get another one for my Derwent Lightfast pencils. But that is how what I get, or where I get those. They have them on Amazon, they have them on Blick, but from the reviews I've read, and I have not tried them myself, so I'm only going by what I've heard, or, reading reviews. It seemed like the Jerry's Artorama ones, at least when I bought mine, had the best reviews as far as not warping and having some weird issues there. Let me come back and do a bit more work on the B after I get the flower in, but we're getting about to the point where we can start on the flower. This little leg. One of the things I love with black paper, as much as I complain about, I can't get my colors, the saturation to be as bold or bright, it's so fast. Like it looks so cute. Like just I don't even have to blend that. It just looks cute how it is. He looks nice and fluffy. How many of you just said it's so fluffy in your heads? I want to get some of these a bit brighter. Let's see. The Rebex storage are a bit flimsy, but they work pretty good. I'll look at them. Aguri, I'm sorry for butchering your name, said, have you tried the Caran d'Ache Pablo? I recently tried some of them on Fabriano Black, and they were much opaquer than polychromos or luminance. I've used them for final details on sanded paper. I really liked them for that, but as far as on watercolor paper, they're like Prismacolor Very Thins, which I never, even when I use Prismacolor, I never liked the Very Thins. Now, people do amazing work with them. They don't work for my techniques, and I felt the same about Pablos. One of these days, I'll get myself a set of Pablos, but really, I think the only thing I'll end up using them for is on sanded paper for the final layers. They just weren't a good fit for me. Oh, he's got a leg in here I seem to have missed. Where's his little leg? Right about here. But yeah, I can't say, I'm not saying they're bad by any means. They just don't, the Pablos just weren't a good fit for my, oh wait, this is the highlight. They weren't a good fit for my techniques. It isn't even supposed to be highlight there. Whatever, it's fine. Little shiny legs. And then we'll come back to his little antennae. Erica said, yes, they can hold over 300 pencils. Wow. And all in one spot on your desk. I can see your color brands. Everything is right there. Huh, I'll have to look at it. Sarah said, Lisa, do you think an easel is a good investment? I love my colored pencils, but my back hate them. Yeah, I can't work flat. My back won't. I have ankylosing spondylitis, so like leaning over or even looking down, like I couldn't crochet anymore if I wanted to. I can't look down. So for any length of time, I have to be upright. So an easel it's not even optional for me. I have to use an easel. So yeah, I think it's good. Get one that's heavy. I mean, you don't have to go as extreme as mine, but heavy enough that when you apply pressure with the pencils that the easel isn't moving back. That's the thing you want to keep in mind. You're not going to want like a lightweight tripod type that is just going to keep sliding away as you put pressure on it. One of the things that I did before that I really liked was a drawing table. Or it sat on a table, or it was a drawing board, and it sat on a table, and you would just kind of prop it up, and I just would tape my board to it, or you could even tape your art to it and draw straight on it that way. But those worked out really well. And I want to say they ran about $40, $45 at Hobby Lobby when I got mine, and you could like adjust it what angle it was, but I would always make mine as straight up as I could. But I used that for years before I just switched to drawing at the easel. Let's see. Heather said, I've done pencil over watercolors and used OMS and had no problems. Oh, good. Vita Lani, one of these days I'll figure out how to say your name properly, said, sometimes I used to make colors look shimmery. I use Derwent metallic pencils, but the range is limited to 20, so I usually use it in conjunction with something else. And see, the thing is with those, I actually want to look into gold leafing because, God, I love that look. I've never tried it. But the thing you have to remember with metallic paints, most of them aren't light fast. So that, I would assume that's going to be the same with a lot of the pencils. Just keep that in mind if the work being light fast is important, like if it's something that you're going to be selling. Okay. He's got a little bit of a, I need to separate his head from his body here. Let's pull some, this one is, I just grabbed a pencil that looked like it would work okay. Burnt sienna. He's more brown, but I'm giving him more red in here. Here's your head. That's a little bit better. Let's separate that. Okay. Casey said, when I was younger, my grandparents bought me like 100 of those little 99-cent bottles of paint. I thought I was all that. You know, a lot of people learn to paint with them or get started. Jason said, buy another one. Which, oh, what were we talking about? I don't remember what we were talking about. I'm sorry. Kelly Adams said, hi, Lisa. How long have you had fibromyalgia? As I have had chronic regional pain syndrome, and I find doing art makes my mind, takes my mind for the pain. Do you find that? Usually I control the pain with diet, but I've been eating like crap lately, carbs and sugar, and my symptoms go through the roof. If I control that, I don't have hardly any pain. My only pain is really from my arthritis. But I've had it, I was diagnosed with it when I was like 30. So what, 13 years ago? But, wow, I'm old. But I've like obviously had it a lot longer than that. It just took that long to be diagnosed. I know I started having problems with fatigue. Like I've always had problems with fatigue. I've never had a lot of energy, but that started getting really bad when I was 17. I got strep throat. I was, a girl at my work had mono, and she was off work for a while. She came back to work, and all our cups, I worked at a pizza place, and all of our cups were kind of next to each other, and I picked up hers, and it was tea. I was drinking root beer at the time. I picked it up, and it was tea, and it was like, oh, that was the wrong one, and then it was like, oh, and she was sick, and sure enough, I ended up with mono. But I didn't just get mono, I got strep throat and scarlet fever at the same time. Scarlet fever, by the way, really sucks. So that was kind of the moment. I never felt better after that. Like, it was so much. I think that was kind of the turning point for me. And I'd already had celiac disease, but we didn't know it. So I hadn't, and that, which is how I got scarlet fever and strep throat to go along with my mono. But what am I looking for? Oranges. So that was when I was 17, and I think that's when that all kind of went downhill for me, worse than I already had been. Okay, and some oranges. Ooh, I'm going to use this coral color, even though it's not really on there, but I think it's pretty. Ooh, you look like you're pretty. So I'm going to start with some of these lighter colors. Now they use more yellow. I may go ahead and pull more yellow than that. Let me see. I think I'll use polychromos. We've got a decent one. Here we go. Kind of a cream yellow. Ooh, you look like you would be perfect. Yes, this is cream. There we go. Let's see. Paul said, our municipality mayor is holding a contest using oil acrylic on canvas. Don't jump. Announced yesterday with a deadline on June 8th. Should I use oil or acrylic since we have 1 week to finish it? I would probably do acrylic. If I was on a deadline and I wanted something, what's that? If I wanted something just like right, I would personally go with acrylics, but that's also my strong point. Like that's where the medium I have the most experience in. So that may not be the right answer for you. You've got to figure, these are kind of fluffy. It's the pollen. You'll have to figure out what's going to be the best fit for you. But if it were me, I would do acrylics. But I mean, factor in how fast do you work? What size is your project going to be? I mean, there's so many factors that you'd have to answer to know for sure what is going to be a good fit for you. And I'm just going to start putting in some of these lighter yellow stemmy guys. That is not a technical term. I don't recommend repeating most of the terms I use because you'll look stupid when you're talking to somebody else. Nothing I say is correct, like quadonk red or murder juice. So yeah. You know, fair warning. No one will know what you're talking about, and they will think you're insane. So just starting to get some of these lighter ones. I'm not even going to blend most of this out either, because I like that softness. Oh, that just jumped. I knew it was about to do it sooner or later, sooner rather than later, because I hadn't jumped in a while. Oh my gosh, I'm missing a whole bunch. Sorry. Miriam said, need to find the container for storing my OMS. Right now, mine is in a pimento jar. You know, that would work though. Jackie said, after watching your video on designing business cards the other day, I decided to make my first website. I finished it at 6 a.m. this morning. Nice. Also, it sounds like you're like me and you'll stay up all night to get stuff like that finished. Building my website has definitely cost me many hours of sleep. I get obsessed. I'm like, I'm redoing it. And like, I just stopped sleeping. I'm just going to work on my website nonstop. Nick said, Sarah asked, I'm working on a wolf drawing in colored pencils and I'm struggling with the fur looking flat. Any tips on what I might be doing wrong? You're probably rushing it. You want to break it down into one small section and look at the clumps and clusters. Look at your values. Where are your lights? Where are your darks? Chances are you're focusing on your colors. Colors don't really matter. Dark's dark enough, light's light enough, and work on one little square inch of his fur. Don't work on his whole neck at once. One little area and zoom in on that on your reference photo. Hopefully you've got a good reference photo, but really zoom in and pay attention to the colors that you've got in there, or the values that you've got in there, that in the shapes. Look at how the fur will kind of clump and cluster together and start forming that. Where are your lights? Where are your darks? Look at it as an abstract shape, not as fur. When we look at it as fur as a whole, your brain goes, I know what this looks like. We're just going to fill it in solid. And now you've got this flat looking cartoon, which is probably what you're having happen. Break it up into little teeny sections. Now, the other thing, if you're drawing, let's say you're drawing a full wolf on something this size, you're not going to get that level of detail. Then you're really just focusing on where your lights, where your darks. Get those shadows in there. That is going to make a big difference for you. Kim said, Luke mentioned something about a yellow tang painting. Can you do it on YouTube? Thanks. Yeah, I'm going to do it as a paint-along. We'll do it next week as one of our paint-alongs. Migas, I apologize for butchering your name, said, have you had problems with touch-up texture, wanting to use it a week ago and was shaking the bottle, but was a big clumped and it wouldn't work with the powder at all? Well, I've never had a problem with it. It almost sounds like it got water or something in it. Touch-up texture would have been the bottle. Wouldn't work with the powder at all. It was a big clump. Did it dry out? Was the lid not all? So I'm talking about the wrong one. I was actually thinking the titanium white. But the touch-up texture sounds like it dried out. I've had, let me see if I have any over here. This one only has that much in, I mean, there's nothing in there and it's still, actually this one, my lid wasn't on, so mine actually is dried out inside. So probably I would say the lid wasn't on all the way. This was already pretty much gone, but normally I can have almost nothing in there and it stays wet as long as the lid is on. So if I had to guess, that's probably the problem. Let's see. Art and Diamonds with Estes said, I bought my wooden 4 and 10 drawer boxes from Amazon. So far they've been great. Oh, good to know. Jamie said, I'm totally realizing why you're doing this on black paper. There's no way I can keep up with you on the white paper I chose. Either way, having fun. Thanks so much for this. Yeah, the black paper is just, I don't have to do the shading in between. Like this just, I can go pretty quick on this. That's one of the problems with colored pencil when I want to do the paint-alongs. It's such a slow medium, but if I work on black, we can get through it pretty quickly. Now, I don't care if this is, and I mentioned this, I don't really care if this is exact to the reference photo. I just want to get that feel. The feel of the center of the flower. Let's pull some of this coral color in there. Let's sharpen the pencil first. Let's see. Gypsy said, I'm attempting my first colored pencil piece, and oh, don't jump, and working on Fabriano. With it not taking as many layers now, can I spray the texture fix it over it to keep going if I need more? I've not tried it. I would try it on a sample piece of paper and see what happens, but I'm not certain how well that would work. It might be amazing. I don't know. I would definitely try it on a sample piece. Let us know how it goes for you. I'm just blending this over some of the orange. So it fades from this coral, which is called, oh God, I can't say that. Quadonkadonk pink is what Anthedonkodonk pink is what I'm calling it. I have no idea what that was, and it's so tiny. There's no way I can read that. Thanks, Karen Dosh. Like I can't. My favorite, the polychromas are easy to read. The Derwent Lightpass easy to read. Karen Dosh, my gosh, this tiny little writing in that word, I don't even know what that is. I'm going to let more of the black show through. I'm not going to try to fill all of it in, even though my reference photo would have that in, or filled in more. Use cream. Let's see. Caution, artist at play said, I never ended up investing in the Pablos either. After I looked up the CPS Lightfast ratings, which were surprisingly low, especially for the price, I realized they weren't worth it. Yeah, their Lightfast ratings aren't super crazy good either. So yeah, I've got a couple of them, and I think if I got more, I mean, I've talked about getting the set, but maybe it would make more sense if I wanted some just to get a few individuals. So I'm pushing it a little bit harder for some of these up front. So I kind of get this layering effect on the center of the flower. But the reason I'm pushing harder, I'm burnishing. Now that means it's not going to blend. It will only take so many layers, but I'm not putting anything else on top of those areas. So I can go ahead and start letting them show up a little bit darker. I do want to get some yellow in there too. Let's see how this yellow might be too dull. Oh no, it actually gives me a nice tone. So this one is the yellow ochre. Sarah said, I have a hard time finding marketing advice that would work for luxury items. Most of the advice I've heard revolves around solving problems. But yeah, that still works for luxury items though. So what is the problem you're trying to solve? Ugly bare walls. You are solving a problem. Everything is about solving a problem. So what Sarah's talking about is a lot of marketing talks about, you have to convince people like they've got a problem, you've got the solution. And really as artists, it's the same thing. Their problem is boring, ugly walls. We can make it better for them. So you do have the solution for people. Or maybe they want a conversation piece of art, or like, what is it that you're providing, that something you are providing a solution from them. You just have to figure out how to word that right. I mean, my solution here, maybe somebody wanted a cute bee on the wall. They don't have a cute bee on the wall. I've got a solution for you. So you still are dealing with problem solution solving. Meek said, that just jumped. Oh, Jamie, thank you so much. Jamie gave me a super chat. Oh, Goosebumps said you always show up. Nice to look forward to. Thank you, Jamie. Does it get all squeaky? Okay, scrolling back. Sorry. Beek said, how much emotional investment do you have in your painting to make a good painting? It depends on the piece. Like my zebra that I don't know if he shows up behind me. Oh, you can see the back of his neck. I'm definitely a bit emotionally invested in him because I've been planning it for a year and a half. I'm super excited with how it's coming out. I'm attached to him. He's not going anywhere. And I had another, one of my old favorites was a giraffe. He's hanging on my wall that has butterflies, right? Yeah, butterflies around him. And he was my favorite forever. And I was looking at him the other day going, he's not really my favorite anymore. I'm comfortable to sell this one. I'm not so emotionally attached anymore. I have new ones that are my new BFFs. So him, I can finally sell and let go without crying over it. So I don't know that it's that you have to be emotionally invested. I think that it just kind of comes naturally when you're really excited about a piece. I think it's a normal thing to happen when you're working on something that you're just like, everything is coming out exactly how I want. I'm so happy with this. I think that it's almost the reverse. I look at it as, because it came out good, that's why I got emotionally attached, not the other way around, if that makes sense. Oh, Jason said the Notebook. Yeah. But it's here somewhere. I just have to actually look for it. I wonder if it made it into my office. I don't know. It's aqua. I wouldn't lose it because it's like a teal color. I'd keep it just because of that. Let's see. DJ said, I bought a Canson black pad and did a quick chickadee, and I was amazed at how the colors just pop. By the way, this bee looks amazing. It's the reference photo from Pixabay. Thank you. And yes, this one came from Pixabay. The Pixabay one had a green background, so it looks very different if you were to look there. I did post it though over at patreon.com/Lachri. Don't have to be a member. You can just go ahead and download it there, but they're both there if you want to see the original, and then where I like badly Photoshop. I just did a rush job. Photoshop the background out so we could see how he'll look on black. Okay, and I'm going to come through, so see how this is so much brighter than him? Now that I'm starting to get that, once I finish the flower, I'll come back and put a few more highlights to make him stand out better, because I actually really like this yellow ochre on him, on that. I'm trying to get caught up on a couple questions, and then we'll get into the rest of the flower. Heather said, thank you for talking about contrast. That people always say my art wasn't good enough is why I took nearly 17 years off. That's so frustrating to me because I've known so many good artists. So I had a girl, Marlena, one of my students. I loved her. Her and her whole family were awesome. Marlena was good, and Marlena was like getting better. She was with me for years. She was improving significantly. She had a high school art teacher who didn't like her style of art. And the funny thing is, she was working on a drawing of her bulldog. There was a bulldog. And she brings the dog in, and the teacher didn't like her drawing, so tried to fix it. It was bad. I'm looking at this going, your teacher drew this? And your teacher, the same teacher who is failing you and giving you bad grades and telling you, the teacher actually told her and told the mom in an interview, like a parent conference thing, whatever, that she was not good at art and should just give up. That frustrates me so freaking bad, because this kid could have been amazing. She was already like above, far beyond most kids her age. She was learning, she was improving, she was doing great. And to have somebody come in and tear that down, and that's why I'm very critical, like in our art group, where if somebody doesn't ask for a critique, you don't give it to them. We will block you for doing that, not them for being not great yet, because you don't know how good somebody is going to be. So the idea of somebody, even if I look at something and I'm like, I mean, you got a ways to go, but you'll get there. You don't want to discourage them at the same time, because you don't know how good, like this girl would have been amazing, but because she had people in her life, and her mom was furious, because her mom could see that she was improving. I know what I'll use. Heather, probably from Derwent Light Past. That is like one of my major, perfect. Thank you, Derwent Light Past, for these colors. I'm going to pull some darker violets in mine too. I'm going to make mine a little bit higher contrast, which makes sense being on the black paper. But the colors that I'm going, I've got the Derwent Light Past of the violet, heather, and wild lavender look like they'd be good. So I've got, purple, lavender, and dark purple. Jackie said sleep is for wimps. Jason said, we learned our terms from our instructor. Oh man, I've ruined you guys. I mean, you'll understand what I'm talking about, but you're going to go in front of other artists, and they're going to be like, what is wrong with you? And your quadonkadonk red. Lindy said, can you please give us advice? Oh, don't jump, it's going to jump. On improving my art. Sorry, allergies. I looked back at work from 2004 and realized my work didn't improve at all, and I don't know why. I put a lot of hours into my work. I mean, I don't know exactly what's going on that's not improving. Sometimes taking a step back. So, I mean, I'd need more information. What is it that you don't like about it? I think the most important thing, actually, I don't need more information. I can tell you what to look for in your work. And this is going to be true for anyone. When you hit a point and you don't like something about your work and you're like, I'm not improving, figure out what you want to improve on. And that is important. You may think, well, I don't know. I just know it's not good. No, you can't stop there. You have to pinpoint. Go find an artist whose work you like. And this attitude of don't compare your art with other artists. Yeah, that's great advice if you don't want to improve. That is actually one of the worst bits of advice I think that is commonly given to artists, and it frustrates me. Compare your work to other artists so you can improve. I'm not saying to beat yourself up over your work not being as good as theirs. That's not the goal. The goal is to look at what the other artists, so you want your work to look a certain way and you're not happy with what it looks like now. So find another artist. What are they doing different than yours? Pinpoint. Spend an hour, spend 2 hours looking at their painting and looking at yours. What is different about theirs than yours? You have to pinpoint what the problem is. Like right now, you're at the stage where everything's just kind of overwhelming and you're like, I know I don't like it, but I don't know why. You have to know why. When you can pinpoint and figure out what it is that you're not loving about your work, now you can adjust it. Now you can change that. So this is the time when you want to spend some time being critical of yourself. And is this white? This isn't white, is it? I can't tell because it rubbed off. Thanks, Karadosh. I sound like I'm picking on Karadosh a lot today, aren't I? Maybe this will work. This is kind of a silvery, white, gray silver. But that's what you want to do. You want to sit back and figure out what it is about yours that you don't like about as much about somebody else's. And you can't do, well, everything about theirs is better. No, won't work. What exactly? Values, contrast, design, accuracy in the drawing, detail, lack of detail, softness, harshness. What is it that you're not happy, that you like better about theirs? That is what is going to make all the difference in the world in your work. You have to pinpoint what it is, though. So that would be my advice for you there. Paul said, the minimum canvas size to work with is 20 by 24 to 40 by 48. I picked a 20 by 24, obviously, but I didn't know what size I should use since the theme is about being resilient amidst my gosh, I can't talk. Pandemic. Yeah, 20 by 24 is a good size too. I probably would have done the same there. Yeah, if it were me, I would go with acrylics. Just you're limited on time. It gives you a bit more time with detail. But if you're going to do something simple and you just want soft blending, then maybe it would be better to go ahead and go with, oh, I don't know, which medium are you more comfortable with too? I mean, you've been painting, I'm sure, long enough. If you're entering a competition, I would imagine you have a generalized idea of it takes me this long to get a painting. Like design your painting. Don't even worry about the medium yet. Design the painting and sit there and go, okay, if I did this in acrylic, it takes me this long. If I do it in oils, it takes me this long. I'm better at oils or I'm better at acrylics. Can I get it done in that amount of time and go from there? Because you've got to factor in the dry time too. The submission on the 9th or the whatever it was, the 8th, does that submission mean it has to be dry and ready to hang? If so, absolutely acrylics. So, I mean, you factor in those things. Sneak said, when you're using watercolor pencils, which brands do you tend to reach for? Caran d'Ache or Derwent or Faber-Castell? So it kind of depends. Do I want more opaque? I'm going to go for Caran d'Ache. Do I want more translucent? Either Faber-Castell or Derwent. Do I want it to be light fast? Faber-Castell. Do I want to do something quick I don't care if it fades? I'm just doing a quick sketchbook? Derwent, because they're not as light fast, but they're also a lot less expensive. So those are kind of my things that factor in which one I go for. Let's see. Laura said, do you have any advice for artists trying to work with brands like you do? What's the best way to approach them? My way was weird. I can't say my way is the best way. What happened with me, so I'm not even certain how Fredericks for sure found me. I'm going to go ahead and blend that leaf out or petal out. I don't know. I entered a contest. I don't remember what it was, but it was like to get a free canvas. I don't know. And post your paintings, I guess. But I entered that, and then I got a private message from the person who used to be my contact with them before she got fired. I still want to know the story behind that, but they won't say anything. But she was, that blended nicely. She contacted me through Facebook, just a personal message on my personal account saying, hey, we want to do a sponsored video with you. I was like, wow, that's awesome. I don't know how I guess it was after I entered their contest. So maybe that was why. Maybe that's why they did the contest, to try to find artists. I'm really not sure. But that's how I started working with them. And with Derwent was really funny. So Derwent was that, and I'll give you other tips after I tell my stories that are fairly irrelevant to most people, because it's not going to apply to most people. Derwent contacted me because I did a video. I wanted to review the Colorsoft colored pencils, and as many of you know, I absolutely hated them. They do not work for my techniques at all. And so I gave them a review. I mean, I bashed them. I made fun of the pencil. I made fun of the artwork on their sample, which was pretty crappy of me. I was being funny, but I would imagine they thought it wasn't funny. So I get an email after that video, and that video had been up for like less than a week. I mean, it was not up for very long. I don't remember the exact time, but they emailed me, and I see that I've got an email from Derwent, and I'm like, oh crap, they're gonna ask me to take that video down. And I mean, they technically can't require that, but I thought that's what was going to happen. Open the email, and was my first experience with how freaking amazing their customer service is. They're like, we're sorry you didn't like this product, that it didn't work for you, but we heard you like Inktense, or you were interested in Inktense. We'd like to send you a full set. I'm sorry, what? I was just like blown away. And that is how I started working with Derwent. They are an amazing company who genuinely is trying to create products that artists want, hence the Lightfast line. They talk to artists. They want us to like their product. I mean, they know we're the reason they make money. And I was just so impressed with the way that they handled it, with the way that they were like, we're sorry you didn't like it. Want to try these? Like, it was cool. And I know you're going to get a little bit of a different treatment if you're, I'm a YouTuber, so that's going to be different than the average buyer. But people who have had any problems with their supplies, they stand behind them. If there's a problem with quality control, I mean, Derwent is behind their product. And I was doing I don't know if they want me telling this story, but they had me go and do a demonstration during a big art convention. I sat at their booth and demonstrated Inktense. And I would go through the pencils, and one of them was split, like the wood was split down the side. And I showed it to them. I'm like, hey, I don't think this one's kind of messed up. The look on their face of horror of, oh my God, we not only do we have a bad like a product that has an error on it, we've got this on display and we're trying to promote our stuff, but they were like genuinely horrified. They had a pencil that came out wrong. I mean, it's going to happen, but they were their reaction was like, wow, these people really care, which was like, I was pretty impressed. they went and replaced that one pencil. I'm like, I just wouldn't use that one. It's not a big deal. I don't need that color. But they were just, no, we're not having that out on the floor. Like, this is not a sample of or example of what our products are like. And it wasn't even that big of a, like, the pencil was still usable. Nope, they were not okay with it. And so anyway, that was a totally aside story. But that's how I started, is I made a video. And I think that comes down to, or back now to, what my advice would be if you want to work with brands. You've got to get yourself out there. Brands aren't interested in working with somebody who has no followers. Why would they? You're not going to, you have to benefit them for them to want to benefit you. You know, it has to be a mutual thing. If let's say you have 5 people following you on Instagram, why would they? You can't help them. Like, there's no reason there. So the first thing I would say is get a following. The social media is what they're looking at there, whether it be YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. They are looking for artists who have a following. So they want someone like me. You guys are watching, and if I like one of their products and tell you I like it, that makes them money. So that's what they're looking for. And obviously with whatever companies you're going for, I would definitely say find companies that you do like their products. Like, I won't work with companies where they're questionable, or I wouldn't use it myself. If I won't use it myself, I'm not promoting it. So I think it's a good idea to keep that in mind on which brands you reach out to. But if you can reach out, you can contact them and say, hey, I've got this many followers on whichever many platforms. I'd like to do a sponsorship. Can we work out some kind of a sponsor deal? Or a brand deal. Brand deal is what you would call that. But that's my advice to you. Get the following first. And it's so funny because I see people get frustrating, like, no one will work with me, no one gives me art supplies. You didn't put in the work to get the followers. Like, you have to put in the work first. And I know that seems backwards. I've seen people complain on some of my videos where a company had given me supplies and they're like, it must be nice. I can't afford those. And it's like, I couldn't afford mine when I initially bought them. Well, I could afford them. I saved for them. But I mean, we all start there. You don't get to start at companies giving you supplies when it doesn't benefit them, if that makes sense. And that doesn't mean they're bad. It's good business practice, So yes, get the following, then contact the companies and ask about potentially doing a brand deal with them. And what I usually do for most companies, I don't get paid for most of them. I know, like, Derwent paid me to do the tins. I don't have them in here, but the Inktense tins. But most of everything that I've done, there have been a few jobs they paid me for, and they've offered to pay me for some of the other stuff, promoting to do stuff, and I'm like, I'll do a trade for product. Like, they're coming out. They're still, actually, they just emailed me today that they're doing the filming. They're hoping to get back into planning for that, at least, once it's safe to travel again. They're going to be doing an artist feature here. And so they'll actually work with me and pay on for certain things. Certain things I'm like, just give me more art supplies so I can keep using because I like the product. So that's how I usually work with companies. Most of them, I did not do like a cash trade. The majority of them are like, you give me supplies that I was going to use anyway because I like your products, and I will tell people I'm using your products because I am. I rambled about that for an abnormally, excessively long time. Okay. So Maya said, what website do you recommend for a beginner? If you're building a website, I like mine is a WordPress website, which I love, built on, from EMWD is my platform that I use. That one is wonderful. I'm going to block in a few of these much faster because this is taking me a really long time. Let's put in some of the highlights first. That one's good, but you have a lot of websites like Wix and Weebly. Those are suitable, and some of those are free. They're not going to give you as much freedom on what you do. You will be limited. Mine is WordPress, and then my theme is Divi, which is through Elegant Themes, and it's not cheap. I want to say I did the lifetime thing. It was like $225, something like that. So it's not cheap, but I only had to pay for it once. And it's a really good theme. So there are free themes you can do with WordPress too. You still have to pay for your hosting service, but that is my favorite. And I think WordPress is nice because there's so many people who give lessons on how to do WordPress sites. However, if you're just wanting to get started, get your feet wet, Wix, Weebly, any of those, anything is better than nothing. And a lot of those are very inexpensive, and you don't have to worry about updates. You don't have to worry about anything. So it's kind of a good place to start. Let's see. Kelly said, high five for living with it, you rock. We are all warriors living with pain. Yeah, I would say I'm lucky though, because I did find with the fibromyalgia, if I control my diet, I don't have to have most of the pain. The arthritis is going to be there, but yeah, that's if I control it, I'm lucky, and I'm going back to my nice healthy diet probably at the end of this weekend. I'm almost out of all my frozen carb food, but I'll start feeling way better when I do too. Jason said, now it's time to get a magnifying glass. Is it for working for the paper, looking for the paper still? I'm so far behind on chat, I never know what we're talking about. Heidi said, any tips for making a certificate of authenticity? Did you print your own? I used to use a company called, God, I forget what they were. It was like something America. The word America was in it, I believe. They went out of business. So all those years I paid a fee for them to keep track of stuff, and then they went out of business, and their stuff that they were keeping track of, no longer keeping track of. So I don't recommend using a service for certificates. I think that they're an absolute waste after my experience. So, and I was having other problems too. I talked about that on last week's live stream, or Wednesday's live stream. But what I do when I would print the certificates, and I only did it for prints. I actually don't even print them for originals because, I mean, you have the original. Some people like to do it. But I copied the certificate, the information, so I would make a print number. I would have so the print number, the date, my signature, like the artist signature. I'm trying to think what I had on there. We'll do this. I will find one of my old certificate of authenticity. Someone may need to remind me later, but I will find that certificate and post it in the, are you on Facebook or the MeWe group? Because I can post it there and let you guys see what I used to use. I just have to find one first. Migas, that I'm pronouncing wrong, I'm sorry, said it was so liquid, but with the white of the product just wouldn't mix, and it was just a big clump. I've used it twice in 2 years. Very strange. Well, twice in 2 years, that's sat there for a really long time. I wonder if mine doesn't do that because I use it so often I shake it a lot. I wonder if that would make a difference. Miriam said, since moving in your home, have you made any new storage items for supplies? Maybe I missed it. I haven't, but my neighbor does woodworking. So I want to hire him to come in and do like a cabinet unit basically along, I think, the wall that I painted. Or over, I don't know. I need some storage solutions. So when that eventually gets done, I'm hoping later this summer, I will definitely share with you guys. It would also kind of double as a bit of a backdrop. Let's see. Jason said, how's the zebra hair working out? The zebra is going with, I've been working on the honeycomb. I haven't worked on it since the live stream, but I'm like, when I backed up after the live stream was over, pretty happy with how that's coming out already. Avelo said, I got that. Wrong one. Oh, no, you asked the same thing. How's the honeycomb giraffe coming along? But I can't stop coughing. A bit random. Have you ever tried using gold leaf for paintings? So this one, I was tempted to learn gold leaf and put it on this one because I thought it might be neat to have some shiny areas. I don't think I'm going to, but I am going to start learning. I started watching some videos to get an idea of how gold leafing works. It is such a stunning thing. I'm looking more into it now because I'm really interested in it. I've never tried it though. Joshua said, aren't artists supposed to be quirky? Why should we use our words any differently? You know what? I'm with you on that one. Jody said, luminance or light fast? Depends on what you're doing. Like right now I'm using my light fast, but they're not as opaque as luminance. If you need something more opaque, then I'm going to go with my luminance. The light fast pencils, performance wise, just straight out performance, not worried about colors or whatever, I'm leaning towards the Derwent light fast. And just to be transparent about this, I don't know if I'm a bit partial because I like Derwent as a company so much. I'm so impressed with their customer service. I'm impressed with everything. I'm impressed with how they work with artists and how determined they are to pay artists. I'm so impressed with so much about them that I have to wonder, am I a bit biased because of that? And it very well could be. But I do find myself that performance, these blend so nicely, and they're somewhere in between. Like they list them as an oil-based, but in practice they feel somewhere in between an oil and wax-based pencil. So I feel like I'm kind of getting the best of both worlds. I'm leaning towards light fast myself. Like if I were to go out and buy a new set and it was going to be one or the other, if it were me, I would go with the light fast. Let's see. Nancy said, in 1965, my art teacher, a woman, told me commercial art was too hard for girls. Only recently have I become a professional artist. You know, it's frustrating. I used to see that and it was crap. And I don't know why you would occasionally get a teacher who, or somebody who would say, like I was told I wanted to get into teaching or training, which leaf am I on? This guy. I wanted to get into training dogs for the police when I was younger before I realized I wanted to be an artist. And I was told by somebody that I was too small to do that. Well, I talked to somebody years later and they're like, what? No, you wouldn't be the one being tackled by the dogs. You'd be the one training the dogs. No, that was not correct by somebody else who was involved in it. And so, you know, it's so frustrating when you see people, now maybe it was different years ago, but I see people where they try to limit people based on factors that they can't control. Being a girl or being small or whatever. And it's like, I mean, I guess if I ate enough cake, I could have fixed that part. But either way, it's so frustrating when you get people who don't really know what they're talking about. Now, and again, I don't know when that was and if it was different then, but I see that today and I'm like, don't let people limit you by elements that you can't control, because more often than not, it's fine. You can do it. I hate when people get discouraged or told, like in my case with the dog training. I mean, I'm very happy with where my life ended. So, ended. That doesn't sound right. Where I am now, I'm glad that I became an artist. I am actually glad I got bad advice. But when you go back and you see some of the advice I saw artists given that were told, they weren't good enough or to give up, and it's like, but they could have been good. Like you're giving them. It's frustrating to see people get advice that is just so damaging. Ashley said, just saw that in another group. Help was asked for, and somebody commented that the poster should find another subject. No help at all. Oh, that is the only time I would suggest another subject would be if somebody is starting out in portraits and maybe they're not ready for it yet, so they're going to be frustrated because they need to learn certain skills that would be easier to learn on a flower or a frog or something else that's a bit easier. But if they didn't ask that specifically, yeah. So it's kind of like, one of my friends, her dog is having a lot of health issues, and she found out that he has like really weird, odd, Nick knows who I'm talking about, some really odd health or allergies. And she asked, she wrote out a novel of, here are his health issues, here are his diagnosis, here are the foods he can't have, here's what I've been feeding, but I've got to switch. Do you guys know of any specific foods that fit this? And the amount of people that just completely disregarded what she said, what he couldn't have. Oh, you should feed this. That's on the list of what she said she can't feed. Did you not read? You didn't read. You're just offering suggestions of things that dog cannot have. But so many people I think that people just don't read. I'm doing a whole bunch of petals at once, just going to kind of save time, block this in, and then we'll come back and shade after I blend it with OMS. Jody said, is there a way to watch your Patreon videos on private YouTube? I can't watch Vimeo on my 65-inch TV. Actually, you should be able to. So you would use the Vimeo app. What you would want to do on Patreon is, I'm guessing your TV has the app or you're streaming through your phone. I'm not sure which method you're using. But if you can get a Vimeo app, what you'll do is through Patreon, you can add that video to watch later. And then you go into your Patreon app under your watch later videos and it'll be there for you to watch. So you can watch it on your TV, just the same as YouTube would be. It's just that you have to have the Vimeo app. And it should be there. Kelly said, loving the bee and the flower. Thank you. Sarah said, my art teacher once asked in the middle of a painting if I'd heard the saying, kill your darlings. Then she proposed I would paint over my painting and start over. One time there have been times when, and usually the only times actually now that I think about it that I told a student nope, we're starting over is if they rushed the drawing and I made them redraw it because the drawing has to be accurate. So that would be a time, or if they brought in a painting that they've been working on at home on their own or with another teacher and they came in and sometimes it is easier to start over. There were enough mistakes made that let's just start from scratch doing it correctly so that you learn more than just the whole time trying to fix things that you didn't like. So those would be the only two times I would have somebody start over. Other than that, if it was in my class, I was helping them. So we would, know from the beginning what was going on and not need to start over. But those were the only times. So many people teach art that just shouldn't. They are so discouraging to their students that it's like, please stop teaching. My high school I had two high school art teachers. I switched the end of my junior year, I switched high schools. And the one at my first high school, this woman, she was an older woman who probably should have retired like 40 years earlier, and she was nasty and hated everybody and everything and gave horrible advice. Like, looking back, I'm like, why would anyone listen to this woman? She was miserable. And I contacted her. I had been in her class when I was a freshman, learned nothing other than she would only tell you, like, I didn't know how to shade. I'd never taken art classes. So I would do a drawing of a horse or whatever, but it wasn't shaded. It was just the outline, which was accurate, but she didn't tell you to shade. She didn't show you how to shade. And then I would fail because I didn't do what she assumed I should know, that she wasn't teaching anybody. Like, she was a piece of work. But anyway, other students in the class were kind of helping me to shade and stuff because she wasn't teaching anybody. So I contacted her. I kept working on my own, and that was like my big thing through high school. I drew constantly. So I get, including on the back of, or no, actually I was on the front of my math homework. There were dolphins drawn on everything. But I contacted her when I was a junior. And I said, I was curious. I was told you how to talk to a teacher about, like, they would help you get into the LA County Fair, which was right next to where I grew up. And she told me it's almost possible to get into those, and walked off. She wouldn't even help. And it's like, you have these people who teach that you're just like, why? Like, just retire already. You're clearly miserable, and making sure everyone else around you is miserable. Let's see. Tina said, I'm going to have to call it a night as I live in India. Oh, you're up late. Good night, Tina. Thanks for joining us. Jason said, now I have to use the Derwent products because of their customer service. Yeah, I was so impressed with their customer service. It still just blew me away. Hold on one second. That just scrolled up a bunch. There we go. Jason said, it's about reading the names on what did you say, card DOS colored pencils? What? Heather said, look into gold leafing alternatives. I have seen someone use one, and it was easier than gold leaf and stayed where she put it. Ooh, I will look into that. Miriam is laughing at Gibson. What is he doing? Hold on, I'm going to make sure you guys can see him back there. You see his legs in there? Yeah. God, that dog is funny. Let's see. Sarah said, I was wondering if you took an art class when you were younger. I just turned 14 and have not done any art classes, but I have been improving. Should I still try an art class? Absolutely. Even if you don't like the methods they use, even if you don't like the subjects they're teaching, you may learn one little nugget of something that's useful to use in the work the way you want to paint. So if you have the opportunity, and I mean, at your age, you're in high school, if you've got the opportunity to take an art class, absolutely take it. Even if you hate the teacher. But this is the thing. Only take so much of what the teacher says to heart. If the teacher discourages you, write it off that she's just kind of crazy and whatever, do what she wants you to do for the class so you pass. But, she may still have, even the bad teachers sometimes have one little nugget that will help you. The class I took from the woman that I said shouldn't be teaching, I didn't learn to shade from her, but one of the other students taught me how to shade. I'd never tried that before. That was useful to me to be in that class. I wouldn't have done that had someone not been there to show me. So the thing is, if the teacher ends up discouraging you, remember that I can't say most, but I have just seen many high school art teachers that wanted to make it as an artist, and they couldn't, and they taught high school and were like bitter and kind of took it out on the students. I'm not saying all of them do that. You're going to get some art teachers who are fabulous. Sorry, itchy nose. Who teach in high school. But I've seen it so often. So, don't let them discourage you. But I still think there's a lot that can be learned in these classes. I learned from the other students, but I'm glad that I took it, and I didn't let her discourage me because I looked at her as a crazy woman who just had issues that were not my issues. I think I got a C in that class. I think I did technically pass, which is hilarious because if I would have asked for her advice, she would have told me to give up, that I was no good. Yet I make my living painting and drawing and teaching other people. So, you don't want to take too much to heart if they are discouraging you, but yeah, I still do recommend people take art classes. Just don't let them make you give up. Never let an art teacher ever let an art teacher make you, whether it's me or somebody else, you never let someone else make you give up. Learn what you can from them. Let's see. Jackie said, my art teacher used to tell you that your drawing was wrong and actually draw over it. Then by the next lesson, she would tell you the same thing about what was now essentially their work. That was pretty much what my one student was having happen. She brought in this dog, and I remember the paw going, that is the most deformed looking, like this teacher doesn't understand perspective at all. It was so messed up. I had to fix it. It was better when the student had done it. The teacher made the perspective worse, like she completely screwed it up, and I had to fix it. I'm just like, that does not surprise me. That said, this may be a silly question, but can you layer color pencil over Inktense? I love how they look, but wanted to know if I could do details over them with polychromos. You can, but the pencil doesn't stick to them. Like for some reason, the Inktense feels very slick. So once it's on there, so I find that the pencil doesn't stick to it it sticks to it, but it is a little bit more slick. So it's different than doing colored pencil over colored pencil. So experiment with it. But yes, you could put it over that. Oh, that just jumped too far. Hold on one second. Here we go. Meek said, why be a teacher when you hate it? Because they couldn't become doctors or dentists, we say here in the West Coast. Brittany said, I feel so bad for people who had bad teachers. My husband was told at 12 he should give up. My teacher was amazing and helped me get into art school. I didn't even know it existed. I'm glad you had somebody that helped you. That is awesome. I wish more teachers were like yours. Beek said, a good teacher is worth twice as much as their weight in gold. Kristen said, do you have any recommendations for online classes? Bought my daughter a new iPad and a ton of supplies for her birthday today. She turned 12. Wanted to get classes to go with it. If you're going to be doing iPad or digital work, look into Aaron Blaze. He's here on YouTube, and he does sell courses that she can follow. Now, some of the courses, I'm not sure if they work with an iPad. I really don't know. Look into it. But Aaron Blaze he's the one who animated The Lion King. Fabulous artist. I would look into his. I've bought his, I followed some of his tutorials, and I bought most of his Photoshop brushes for digital art. I've learned so much from just a couple of things I watched from him. So can't recommend him enough. He's amazing. Kristen said, my 12-year-old has been homeschooled 2 years now. Her art teacher told her at 9 she has no hopes of becoming a professional artist and she should consider a real career. Well, my mother-in-law still thinks I don't have a real job, and I think she thinks my husband paid for the house when in fact it's me. So it's kind of an ongoing joke with me and my husband. He'll walk around and go, look at the house I don't pay for, because his mom thinks that I don't, art isn't a real job, and it's like, okay then. So we just kind of joke about that. Like that's, most of my family, like my mom, my side of the family all accepts art as a real job and have always been super encouraging, but she definitely, she encourages me and she loves the art. She's a sweet lady, but she's still, she's never seemed to think I have a job. She kept trying to get me a job again working at a receptionist places. I'm like, I have a job. Kristen said she's obsessed with Aaron. Didn't realize he had iPad courses. See, I don't know if he does have iPad courses, but she may be able to translate her iPad to what he's doing on Photoshop. I look into what he does. But when it comes to digital painting, a lot of what he's doing with different layers, she may be able to translate into that. The other thing I would do, and I don't know specific teachers, for anything, look at iPad, artists that do artwork on the iPad, look for that on YouTube, and then see if any of those artists, usually if they've got a bigger channel, they probably have courses they sell. So that would be a way to go. You might also try, there's Skillshare and stuff like that, who keeps trying to get me to advertise for them, and I just did it for free. But you have stuff like that. There may be courses that would be useful. I don't know. I've never used any of those, but it may be worth looking into. Just using the OMS here to blend some of these out. I'm having to use a fair amount of OMS to get this to really blend. I don't think I have enough pigment on my paper. Let's see. Whoops. Maya said, I don't know if you love doing it, is it a job? Yeah, I would still say it's a job. I mean, I see where you're going with that, but I would still call it a job because I'm exhausted all the time and I feel like I work nonstop all the time and I love it, but you also can get burnout. You can be like, oh, I just want to sit and play Warcraft for a day. I just want a day off, and I still have to get the work, so much work to do still. So yeah, there are times that I'd rather go out and pick weeds because I'm weird. I know that's not normal, or do stuff like that, but I have to get work done. So, I guess if you still have occasionally things you'd rather do, I guess you could do that with hobby too. Or there's other things you'd rather do, but it's a good job, that's for sure. If you have to have a job, it's nice when it's something you love. Just blend these. And then we can come through and get some of the contrast and stuff on it so it's not so flat. But this works as a nice base. Try to keep those edges smooth. Miriam said, my bee is fluffy. I might not use OMS. I'm not using OMS on my bee. My bee's staying I like him being fluffy. By the way, can you imagine those art teachers being doctors? No, I don't think I'd go to them. Yeah, that'd be terrifying, huh? Jason said, I love Aaron's YouTube videos. When I get a lot more money, then I can start buying courses. Yeah, he had a sale for one on light, and I need to watch it because that would be, I would say, my weak point. Like if I've got a good reference photo that has lighting that I like, I can copy it, no problem. As long as I have something. It can be whether somebody else took it, I took it, whatever. I just need something to look at. But Aaron can take one photo and use 4 different light sources, and it looks amazing. Like, how do you do that? So I'm hoping to learn. I bought that. I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I bought it like a month ago, but he had a sale. So that's, he has sales all the time. So if you're, sign up for his email newsletter if you're not already on it. But that's when I've got some of his brushes, I think I might have paid full price. I don't remember. And then some, he'll go have these huge sales. I'm like, I'm buying every brush you make. All the things I must own. I don't buy, he has animation courses and stuff, which I don't animate. So it's not something that I've done, but he talks about anatomy. He's amazing. And then we'll let this dry, and then we can get the highlights and shadows and such on it. And while that dries, I think I'm going to put a little bit of yellow, just a little bit on the bee. I don't want to overdo it because he really is mostly tan, but I think the contrast, I've got so much yellow here, he's just getting lost. So I'm going to oversaturate him a bit. Okay, almost. This brush is actually working. This tiny little brush is working pretty good. The tag is bugging me like crazy. I have to cut that off. Okay. Kristen said, my stepfather's dad was a professional artist. He died recently and was quite fond of my daughter. His wife sent his entire studio to her. She quite literally cried. Oh, I would have too. Well, lose a family member and then that's so meaningful. That was so cool that he sent that to her. Or she sent it to her. Jody said, are you using the smooth side of the Mi-Teintes pastel paper? Apologies if I'm... Oh, yes, absolutely, always the smooth. With colored pencil, I do not want super rough texture like the cold press or pastel paper. You wouldn't get a smooth look. So, yes, this is the smooth side. So, I guess it's the back. I think it's the side that had the sticker on it. Okay, while we wait for that to dry, pull a little bit of yellow. I think this was the yellow ochre. Yeah. And so let's pull just a bit to brighten him up so he stands out and doesn't just get lost like he's currently having happen. Just a little. I'm pushing kind of hard to make sure that stands out. One of the things I think I'm going to do too is let's see if I've got like a light blue or maybe an ultramarine blue. I don't know. Let's experiment. It's kind of the theme of art. Experiment. See if you like something. I just want to make him stand out a bit more because we've got so much color right in here. Oh, I like it. A little bit of blue on the edge of the wings. Underline that blue a little. Get some here on his face. Maybe on his leg. And it's not because that's accurate on the photo. It just, I want to make men look better. That's one of the things that's so great, put a little on his eye, about being an artist is that you don't have to copy your reference photo exactly. That photo is just a guideline. What can you do to make it better? If putting blue on the edge of something makes it better, put blue on the edge of it. The goal is to make a good piece of art. Whatever you need to change to make it better, do it. Let's see. Kayla said, I have had both kinds of teachers and I agree. What was really cool was my amazing high school art teacher let us enter the Vans Custom Culture Contest. I love that class. That's awesome. Yeah, I had a really good teacher too my senior year, or the end of my junior year. I switched to schools, and the funny thing is the school I switched to was not a good school. Like, I was turning in work I got as a C as a freshman in my previous school. I was turning it in as senior projects at the new school and getting an A. I got a C as a freshman and A, same exact work. I wasn't, yeah, that school was very like, their standards were much lower. But they had this art teacher. His name was Dennis Garcia. I wish I could find him. This teacher, the way he taught his class is why I teach the way I do. He let everyone, I showed him my work and he put me straight into AP Studio Art. So even though I didn't have the previous, like what they normally would require you to get into that class, he just went by my work and that I had transferred. So he, I just want to make sure this dries before I go over it. So that's why I'm waiting here. There were 12 of us in the AP class, and he taught the AP class and the normal class at the same time. So the 12 of us, we could eat our lunch, like it was right before lunch. So I just always had my bag lunch. We'd eat our lunch, whatever it was, while sitting in there, while talking, while he would give us a theme and a medium. So being that I was obsessed with tigers and, wildlife, speaking of, there's a bug outside my window. But I was obsessed with that sort of thing. I wasn't interested in, like, one of his things, for example, was transparency. So everyone was getting jars and making transparent jars. I'm not doing that. I'm drawing transparent tigers. I was allowed and I did well. I scored well because he liked the creative side, the beat that I was always thinking outside of the box. So I did very well in that class. He didn't teach us anything. He gave us a theme. He gave us the medium he wanted to work in. And if we had a question, like I would constantly go, okay, I'm done. And he'd go, no, you're not. Go back to it. He didn't even tell me what to do. And just go work on it more. I learned so much from having the freedom, the medium, giving me an assignment, but having the freedom to do what I wanted. Learned so much from that. And so when I started teaching group classes, that's why everyone was working on a different subject. I based it off that class. That class had 12 people. My max was generally around 12. I occasionally taught more than that, but normally I kept it on the lower end of things so that I could help everyone individually and let people do what they were interested in, because that's how I learned so much in that year taking that class. He wasn't teaching, but he was kind of guiding, I guess, sort of. I loved that class. I loved him. It was amazing. And so that's when I started teaching, it's like, that's what I got the most out of. Not somebody going, now shade this, now shade that. I mean, that's great if you like that way. But when I was teaching my group classes, I definitely really liked the way I just did it the way he did. And it worked out well for me. I mean, those classes went really well. Let's see. Jason said, I have a book called The Color and Light by James Gurney, and it's a start for me. I have that one too. That's a good book. He's amazing. Kristen said, I went through a phase in high school where I had to put colored geometric shapes behind everything I drew. I've done that where it almost looked like stained glass. I really sat there and I made an orca, and the background was all those geometric, like random shapes, and it all fit together to still make an image. But I made, even the orca was that way. Excuse me. Okay, let's get some highlights. Now I'm going to push a little bit harder where I want this to really come out smooth and show up well. Now I'm not drawing all the petals in here, just a few. So if you're looking at the reference photo going, that's not what mine looks like, it is not what yours looks like. I'm kind of making mine up as I go along a little bit by what I think would be nice. That one folds up, so I've got to darken this a lot. Let's shade it with the darker purple, which is actually violet. Yeah, I would love to find that teacher and be like, look, I became I can definitely say because of you, that really encouraged me to go forward with art more. Like, I so enjoyed, and that was like changing high schools your senior year sucks. That everything was pretty kind of sucky for me at that point in time. And that art class really, I just have such good memories from it. Like, it really made a difference in my life, I think. Not pushing super hard with that purple, but I will blend it in with the OMS. I don't know which petal's on top of which here. Not really important. Kristen said, we have a good magnet art school here for grade 7 and up. My daughter had her eyes on it, and her art teacher would tell her she didn't have what it took. A good teacher can be hard to find. Oh, that sucks. I mean, it's good if someone can be honest, but that's like every time. So everyone's like, well, I'd rather hear the truth. But every time somebody said the truth, when I looked at it, I'm like, what are they talking about? That student, I can see the potential there. That student can do this. Anyone can do this if they have the determination. Like, it's just so frustrating. Casey said, I wish my art teacher would have taught like that. I was so caught up in meeting all the requirements for the project that I didn't have time to add detail or improve. Oh, that sucks. I think with the studio side, he really kind of mostly ignored us because he was teaching the beginner class on the other side more, but that worked. It was like, here's the supplies, go for it. I'm just looking at where are my lights and where are my darks, and I'm hyping up that contrast a lot. I don't need any of this to be exact. And you can see where I'm letting a lot of that black show through, where on that reference photo, it's not there. I don't even know what this mess over here with these petals, what's going on in that photo. We'll just darken some of these. I don't know what's happening. See. Maya said, I drew a dog curled up under a tree for art class one time. Typical scene in India. Teacher goes, look everyone, Maya's drawn a deer. I have a lady instantly recast it as a deer. That is awesome. I'm going to go ahead and blend this a bit with the OMS. I've already got enough pigment on here. I don't have to use a lot of OMS at this stage. The OMS, the first layers, I'll use more of it. But when you get into these final layers, you only need a teeny tiny bit on that brush to get nice blending. Too much can start lifting some of the pigment off the paper, which is not what I want when you get into these later stages. Okay. I definitely can see where I want to put some more highlights on the bee. Let me go ahead. I'm just going to loosely sketch in because we're already so late into this. I'm going to do a really loose sketch with some green. I'm going to keep it pretty dark. Oh, here. My shades have to be closed so I can see my monitor, but I can hear a little bird on the feeder outside my window. They're so cute. I'm just going to leave a nice sketchy look. This one, I think it's like a sage green, earth green, polychromos. I'm not going to worry about blending or anything. I just want the hint of some leaves. And then I've got this darker, this one is chrome oxide green. Blend over that. You can take more time and do more details on yours if you like. That part isn't, I just wanted the hint in there, so I'm good. Jody said, I love the complementary color palette here, purple and yellow. Me too. Kristen said, it bugged me because most other people are always surprised by her age when they see her stuff. It was literally just the one teacher. She wanted all the kids' art to be exactly alike. Yeah, you know, it's funny. There was a guy when I was first showing my artwork. I need a bright yellow. Let's see if we've got that in Derwent. There was a guy, his work was pretty good. He definitely could improve. And he did just space scenes, which are very simple. If you paint in acrylics with an airbrush, you know space scenes are really easy. But that's all he did. And so, like, again, they were good, but they weren't going to get him that far if that's all he was doing. But he had talked about going to school, and he said the reason he didn't go to school is he didn't want the teacher to influence his art. And I'm like, you can learn from somebody and still do your own thing, but you might learn other techniques that would be good. His had a very weird, like, he had the attitude that all teachers always, well, that works, wanted your work to look exactly the same. And it's like, not necessarily. Okay, this might be a little too fluorescent. That isn't what I want. I guess, are you bored? Getting up? Have you had enough? Let's go back to that kind of peach color. What was this one? Brown ochre 10%. We're almost done. The neighbor has a it's a French Bulldog puppy. Cutest puppy. Oh my gosh. But Gibson wants to hunt her because, you know, bunny sized. And we had to have him block off part of his fence because the puppy was trying to get into our yard. She's all excited. You could hear her huffing. You could just see or, you know, imagine her tail wagging. It's just so cute. There we go. This is what I needed. some nice highlights, and I'm pushing pretty hard to get this to really stand out. But he had to block it so under the fence so the puppy couldn't get her face under, because I was afraid that the boys would hurt her and try to, because she kept sticking her legs and her nose under. I'm like, oh, that's not good with greyhounds. So he blocked it, but Gibson is still obsessed when he hears her out there. And it's so weird because my neighbors on the other side have the lab poodle mixes and a cocker poodle mix. He ignores them, but something about that puppy, and he just runs the fence constantly. I'm like, oh my God, dog. And he's looking right now. He was looking out the window at the fence like, I know she's out there. I have to go look for her. Rotten dog. You're rotten, huh? Oh, him is my favorite boy. So sweet. Don't tell Wade. He can't hear us right now. Wade's my dad, my husband's dog. Like, yeah, because we're crazy people, and we decided each one has our own dog. My husband is more responsible. Like, Wade hangs out with my husband because he works weird hours right now. So he hangs out with him. Gibson sleeps with me. So it's kind of how that worked out. I'm just getting those highlights, making the bee stand out a bit more. Where I felt he was just getting lost. Being said, if you had to choose either the luminance or the light vest, I think I would go towards the luminance. I was talking about this earlier. The light vest, they feel somewhere between oil and oil-based and wax-based. Like, they're kind of in the middle. Even though they're listed as oil-based, they feel in practice, they feel in the middle more. And that they're just very versatile. I feel the way they blend. I can be messy and sloppy, and they will blend out so smooth, and that right there kind of gives them an edge up to me. But they're not, I mean, I'm going to get finer detail from my polychromos, so I still, I like all of them. I wouldn't want to only have one, but if I had to choose just one, that's probably it would probably be the light fast. But like I said in the beginning, I have to wonder, just being honest, like how much of it is me being somewhat biased because I love Derwent as a company and what they do for artists. And not that Garanosh isn't good. I don't know, I haven't had to contact their customer service, but I'm just so impressed with like the people that work for Derwent. I've just been very impressed with them. So keep in mind, I might be a bit biased. Like it'd be hard not to be. So like I'm always questioning myself. Like, would I really recommend this is the one that's definitely the best, or is it because I like the company so much? I don't know. It is an amazing pencil though. But I do find myself, like if I were working on white paper, I would find myself reaching for my light fast pencils. Now that I've got more colors, I would go for them more than most brands, just because they blend so smooth. And I can be really messy and really lazy. Kirsten said she was quite drawn to some of your orca paintings with all of the colors. Not enough art teachers are into that kind of art. She was excited that your art proved that she wasn't wrong. You know what's funny about that? So I was teaching at Michael's years and years ago. And there was a woman who was also teaching there. Her name was Joy. She was not a joy. She taught watercolor classes. And from the moment so I get there late because I had another art commitment. We were doing a demonstration day where all the teachers were required to be set up and demonstrating our classes to try to get more signups. So I was stuck sharing a table with Joy. So not the right name for her, but Misery might have been a better one. But phenomenal artist. Man, this woman could paint. She was amazing. Miserable, but amazing artist. But anyway, so she had I go in and I'm doing my orcas because that's really what I taught and all I painted at the time. I'm working on, this is a magenta color I'm pulling in some of these stems here. What is the color? Crimson Aubergine. But I go in. First, she won't share her table with me, which we were all required. Each one of us was to have half a table. She wouldn't let me touch the table. So I had to go get the manager. I had to pull a Karen. But it was because I had nowhere to put my stuff and she wouldn't let me put my stuff where the manager told me to put. I'm like, what are you doing? So the manager came out and she was even like, what are you doing? Like, you couldn't have this whole table. You each get half a table. So anyway, finally get set up and this woman could not stand me. Well, the kids, especially teenagers who came in, apparently there was a teenager she had been talking to, trying to get her to sign up for her class for months. Kid came in, saw my work, got super excited, had her mom sign her up for my next class. Joy was so mad. So she already hated me because I made her share her table that she was supposed to. And then she lost a student to me. Oh dear God. I had to deal with this woman for years moving forward because I ended up taking over the art classes at the time. And Oh, she hated me. And she actually told the manager in front of me at one point, because everything we did, everything was her being difficult. So she tells the manager at one point that, we're talking, and the manager is like, okay, what is the problem? Well, I don't like her. And she points at me, and we're just like, me and the manager are like, what is wrong with her? Like, I always kissed this woman's butt because I knew she didn't like me. And so I thought it was hilarious that I would be extra nice to her, because I'm that kind of a jerk. But, oh man, she was, anyway, point is, it was very common. And that was a problem back then, because Joy was doing like flowers, and they were more muted, more, what is the word I'm looking for? Not historical, more traditional. That's the word I'm looking for. And she's amazing. I mean, this woman could paint. My gosh, even her signature was amazing. She was so good. But people, the younger kids, like teenagers, they liked the orcas and the dolphins and the bright colors. And that's what, oh, she hated me for that. It's still kind of funny. Let's see, where were we on questions? We're almost done here. Miriam said, my last art teacher was in 7th grade and was encouraging. She covered so much in class, even architecture. Nice. Kiln and museum. Then we moved, and art was not offered. Still drew. That's cool that you had a good person there. Kristen said, Joy sounds boring and a real pleasure. She actually ended up, it was funny because she finally quit at one point because she got her work into a gallery. So she quit, and I'm like, thank God, because it was hard to get rid of somebody, especially in California, so the way the laws are. And so even though she was an ongoing problem, everything from trying to take over my class days, even though mine were established, everything, it was ongoing. So she finally quit. Me and the manager were like, finally. So about a year or so later, she came back and she starts kissing my butt, and all of a sudden now she's really nice. She wanted to teach there again. And she was actually nice to me going forward. We were in the same art guild for a while. And she started being nice to me, and it was like, wait, what? Where's Joy? Like, I actually, when she talked to me at the art guild, she was being so nice, and I was like, okay, you look like Joy, but like, I genuinely was like, wait, do I have her mixed up with someone else? Because Joy would never talk to me nicely. It was really weird because she wanted to come back and work for Michaels again, which we didn't bring back. Like, we were done with that drama. But anyway, I will say she was an amazing artist. Man, did she hate me. Let's see. Melissa said, oh yeah, if you have a question, make sure you do the @Lachri Fine Art. Otherwise, I just don't see your question. I'm not trying to ignore you. I just won't see it if it doesn't highlight in orange. Kristen said, my daughter would rather jump off a cliff than paint flowers. Kids will always be drawn to the orcas over flowers, most likely. And that's what I found. And that's why I would have students, like, if you like flowers, paint flowers. Or like boys, if teenage boys, they probably did not want to paint a rose. Some of them actually did phenomenal, like amazingly well. But I always liked for them to paint, like, what are you interested in? I had one kid, he wanted to draw a gun. All right, I will help you, bring in the reference photo, and that's what we'll do if that's what interests you. So whatever gets them painting and drawing, in my mind, was the way to go. I found if you had a student try to paint, let's say they don't like flowers, they're not going to learn as much. And people even ask me on Patreon, which should I do first? What's a good beginner one? And while I do have a few that are set up for beginners, mostly I say paint or draw what you are most interested in. What makes you look at it and get excited and go, I want to do that. That's what you should paint or draw. You're going to learn more from something that you're really interested in than something that you thought was for beginners. Let's see. Okay, we're about done. I really like this magenta kind of being pulled in, or crimson aubergine, whatever it is, being pulled into the purple for shading. That is working out really well. Yeah, I think I'm happy with him. Okay, and then to sign it, I'm going to take my lavender color. I'm just going to sign it right here. There we go. So there is our finished little bee. Pretty happy with how he came out. I hope your guys came out good too. Tag me. If you painted this, post yours to Instagram or Facebook, whatever, tag me in it. I would love to see how your guys' came out. Your guys' grammar is not my forte. Kristen said, we went with a magenta face manga face for a long time. Then, thank Lord that's over. I was afraid we would be drawing manga forever. That is funny. Now, that is one thing I would not, like when students came in and they where I would let them choose something, it was always realism. I did not let them draw cartoons or manga or anime, because I do find you don't progress. you can get good at manga, but that isn't really going to translate and help you that much with realism. So that is one thing I did not. I'm glad she moved past that stage. I always like, you know, when they're kids, let them draw and paint what they want, what they're interested in. But when they got to where we were starting to do things more realistic, it's like, no, we're not doing the anime thing where pick something that you like that's realistic, and that's what's going to help you progress more than anime. Beek said, yeah, my cousin was talented, but wanted to only draw tech stuff. Teacher was a traditional artist, wanted him to do figures. He gave up painting. Oh, that sucks. You see that a lot where people give up because they were kind of being forced to do something they weren't interested in. So, yeah. Okay, it is 3:10. Gibson, don't put yourself on camera. We're a classy show here. Gibson's done. Gibson wants to go outside. I'm sure Wade does too. But anyway, we will see you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Time, and then again Friday at 1 p.m. Central Time. I'm not sure with Wednesday if we'll still... I don't know if I'm going to be done with the zebra. If not, maybe we'll do some bees in acrylic. I'm not sure on him because he's got a lot of tedious work ahead. You know, I've got a lot of... whatever. That might be Wednesday. I can't talk. I'm very tired. I'm planning for next Friday to be the yellow tang in acrylics is what we will be doing. I'm actually really excited about that because I like yellow tangs and he will probably hang on my wall. So let's see. Miriam said, perhaps Gibson thinks the French Bulldog is a rabbit because of the ears. Probably, in the size. That's what I was thinking. Vig said, yeah, my cousin was talented. Oh, I got that one. Kristen said, that's why we gently pushed her away from the anime. Good. Kelly said, signature looks like 2010. Yeah, it does, huh? I mean, I can see where the 2 is, but you're right. It does look like a 10. There we go. Let's see. Kristen said, I honestly credit you and Erin with her progression. That is awesome. And, which reminds me, Think Nick and Joseph are moderators for today, for all the time. Their channels are listed in the video description. You should go subscribe to them if you haven't already. They've got awesome art channels here. Definitely check them out and say thank you for helping us because they help keep the chat clean from trolls and people being obnoxious. They do a lot of work for us. So thank you guys so much for joining, and I will see you Wednesday. Bye.